AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our host brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast-tracking you to the top, AI in Action cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career. To listen to the latest AI in Action podcast, head over to www.alldus.com/podcast or subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Podcasts.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Puneet Gangrade. Puneet is the data science team lead at MightyHive. Puneet, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Puneet, let's start with yourself. Can you give a background of your journey in tech and specifically within data, where you got started, some of the roles you've held along the way, taking us up to your current position as leading the data team over at MightyHive?
I come from a computer science background, and I have been always intrigued with with how the data could be utilized in different situations. And when I joined Accenture, I was fortunate to become part of different projects which sat at the intersection of data analysis slash data science, digital analytics, digital advertising, CRM, and at the same time working for small and medium and enterprise brands. And over the years, like the way I have been involved and learned, it has been an incremental way, and I would say a lot fortunate for sure. An incremental way of working on consumer level data, working on consumer level data in CRM, working on consumer level data on cookie based data on analytics, side analytics data on suppose Google Analytics and Adobe Analytics. And then I moved towards digital advertising when I joined MightyHive. So I got a mix of all kinds of background when I joined MightyHive. So now I'm trying to find a holistic role where I sit and understand how the data flows, how the data is getting collected, how the data is getting transformed from different perspectives as to side data, that is sites analytics data, advertising data, CRM data, and ever-changing privacy laws and privacy rules. So differential privacy rules with respect to different companies like Apple, Google, and at the same time, browsers like Chrome, Safari, Firefox. So I happen to sit at this point and work for enterprise, medium, and small brands and agencies on their end-to-end data strategy, including modeling, transformations, and optimizations.
So you've walked us through the journey, taking us up to your current role at MightyHive. So can you explain MightyHive as a business, who you are, what you do, and how you're helping customers work on data privacy?
So MightyHive is a data and digital transformation partner with enterprise brands and small and medium brands, and at the same time as other agencies. We provide innovation advisory for business transformation, data consulting, and digital media services. We have worked with multiple clients to build their digital media transformation strategy, launching and measuring their digital campaigns, and creating an overall data strategy. And this is something which has come up a lot often in the recent years as to how can brands control their tech stack at the same time control the data that they are collecting from various different dimensions. And that is where creating a data strategy slash data consulting comes into the scene, and where I am mostly involved in. And there's a big team. Overall, we are responsible for understanding their tech stack. We work with their current platforms. We suggest new platforms. We are evaluating the utility and the maturity of different platforms on different, like for each brand. What does this process entail is how can we bring the best for the marketer for each platform, at the same time achieve all the vision slash goals that different stakeholders have in terms of brand managers, analytics managers, media managers, senior executives, and multiple different stakeholders who are achieving different results with respect to data security. So that is where MightyHive is spending a lot of time, and that's where I'm involved in.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that overview. And MightyHive have a broad range of customers across industries, and some of the most well-known household names are using you guys to improve this digital transformation process. So can you give us some insight into a typical project from first engagement to some of the main challenges that you and your team are facing when ingesting the different data sets to the overall strategy in line with the end user, and what it's like to be part of the data team?
One of the projects and that's basically an outline of most of the projects. So it's about data strategy, and everybody has different expectations and understanding of the tech stack, and everybody likes to utilize tech stack to their own benefit. So at some times when the company is like an enterprise company, we have many stakeholders to work with, and it's our responsibility to make sure that whether each stakeholder from different team is able to utilize the tech stack to the maximum level or not. And what does this mean for us, and where do we contribute? Is we work with the data managers, we work with data architects, data engineers, data scientists, brand managers, media managers, analytics managers, and get their viewpoint. We try to build a problem statement, and every single stakeholder or every single stakeholder team has their own problem statement. And it's a lot top down, bottom up approach. So we listen to all the stakeholders and get to know the problem statements, and at the same time we are doing the bottom up hands on evaluation of their tech stack and understand, okay, if the data is flowing from multiple different platforms, how is it getting collected, how is it getting refreshed, how is it getting transformed, and to what extent the data is agile, and to what extent the use cases can be implemented for multiple stakeholders at once, so that the lack of insights don't basically become part of the long-term strategy. And at the same time, the dashboarding slash optimization, depending on which stakeholder we are talking to, if the stakeholder is more about dashboarding and reporting numbers to the senior executives, or if stakeholder is more inclined towards media optimization, it's our responsibility and at the same time to educate and highlight the importance of how the data can be made agile, how the transformation layer can be changed or updated. And in that case, what will happen is we come up with, suppose, 5 problem statements, and during the process, we redefine those 5 problem statements and add a couple of more problem statements, so that we are working on the long-term strategy. So this is like all in theory, but in practical, what does it mean is a lot like, and I think people can relate to this now, especially pharmaceutical industry. In the times of COVID, we have seen that a lot of data that's being collected, a lot is different for especially pharmaceutical industry, and the way calls or the marketing slash advertising used to happen for the pharmaceutical industry with healthcare professionals or pharmacies, that was more of a face-to-face meeting and not Zoom calls or online meetings. So now the data that's being collected, the way hospitals, clinics, doctors are being reached out are in a different way. So the data collection itself has changed. Earlier, the involvement of this kind of data was not even taken into consideration for doing optimizations in pharmaceutical industry. So with or without COVID data kind of situation. So all the advertising that has changed, not just in the pharmaceutical industry, will work in different means slash patterns when we are taking into consideration the COVID data, or when we are not taking into consideration the COVID data, because people's behavior has have changed, and the problem statements have also been redefined. That's where we come in as expertise from contextual perspective as well as absolute knowledge of tech stack. As we have been in the industry for a lot of time, we have gained advertising expertise at the same time. So that's why we call ourselves a digital transformation partner.
On that last point, the advertising piece, many of your customers are going to be faced with the changing landscape in advertising data, with Google recently announcing that they're getting rid of third-party cookies and not replacing it with anything. So you're uniquely positioned to see the impact of this change across multiple companies and multiple industries. Can you give us some insight to what MightyHive, you and your team are doing to try and combat these changes and help your customers utilize their advertising spend?
Yes, sure. So as this privacy is something that has been taken a toll like recently, like a lot many times. It has been an evergreen concept, an evergreen talking point for a lot of different companies and years. But recently, with the announcement of Apple's IDFA being redacted by default, if people are not opting in, or Google Chrome not finding the alternative, or not even going to find the alternative for a third-party cookie. And at the same time, as a user or multiple users have concerns being tracked over the internet, all these things have led to more privacy-related changes. And at the same time, over the last couple of years, GDPR and CCPA government rules have basically forced the platforms, like advertising platforms and the brands, to redirect their decisioning or impact measures, so that people are thinking about privacy first and at the same time doing something good in terms of advertising performance or branding performance. This is where MightyHive has been involved a lot, and we are continuing to spend more and more time as these things are still not completely unfolded. Google is, and just taking a different direction now. Google has testing flocks, federated learning of cohorts in its new privacy sandbox environment, which is not open to public. It's in beta. It's not open to different advertisers right now. So how do we shorten this thing for the wide majority of audience? The way we portray this as to past versus future. In the past, we all were aligned to real-time input data at the micro level, that is at the user level, and also at the same time real-time output data / insights at the user level / aggregated level. But now, as the privacy laws are changing, the input to output is not going to remain micro to micro. It's going to change from micro to macro. So macro level of targeting, that is cohort level targeting, is going to come into place, and cohort level insights are going to go out of the system. That means I won't be able to utilize user level data. And that's in general, that's going to happen. And with more and more privacy laws shaping up, like France is coming up with its own cookie consent, along with different privacy laws that are already there. So there are privacy laws. Then there are privacy rules set by companies like Apple, Google, at the device level and at the browsers level. So eventually, every single company is going to get forced or pushed to learn something towards contextual advertising. And I think that's where the direction is going for all of the brands, all of the platforms.
So Puneet, you've been with MightyHive now for 1 year and 6 months, and you've obviously been heavily invested in the current data team, leading multiple projects. When you look back at the time you spent thus far, what have you enjoyed most about the work that you do at MightyHive? Can you give us some insight into what it's like to be part of the team?
Since I've joined MightyHive, it's been 3 years, and I have been involved in communications with multiple different teams of digital analytics, digital media, consultants, senior executives, and I and my team happen to sit at the intersection of all these teams and collaborate with them. It's a very welcoming environment where we get to share ideas, learn from each other, and push each other for challenging and exciting work. And I think this is one of the most important things that I value and I cherish, that throughout the years, we have been involved in challenging and exciting work. It definitely takes a toll on you, but it's so challenging and exciting that we get to learn and move forward together. And we act as disruptors. And I am saying that just not for myself, but as a team, as a company, and at the same time at the bigger S4 Capital level, which is our parent company. And we call ourselves disruptors. So, for example, instead of looking this privacy-related laws and rules changing, we look to them as opportunities for us to really come up and find better solutions for all the clients. And that's what's the most important thing, that MightyHive values you as a team member at the same time. So it's a really team effort and collaborative effort at the end.
So I want to now get your take on what's next, because obviously 2021 is very busy for MightyHive, and you guys are going to continue to grow and disrupt. Can you give us some insight into the types of positions and hiring that you're going to need to make on your data team?
Overall, this team has been a small team, but as we are growing, we happen to hire in different directions. And what does this include? As I said in the beginning, what do we do in the data strategy? And we need specialists for data strategists. So right now, a lot of work could be done by one or more people, but to really have a long-term opportunity and long-term stability within how we are going to divide our work, we are planning to work and have specific guidelines around how does data architects gonna work, how are data engineers going to work, how is the data scientist work going to evolve. At the same time, above all, how are the data managers, data consultants going to evolve at the same time? So all these positions are usually right now being filled and decided and discussed. So moving forward, we will be having specialized openings, specialized positions to fill up for these roles for enterprise and small and medium brands.
Excellent. Well, Puneet, we appreciate you coming on today talking to us about the work done at MightyHive. I think anyone familiar with the change in advertising technology and third-party cookies will know that this area is going to explode. There's going to be so much innovation because there's such a complex problem to solve. And it's great to hear from you and MightyHive and how you and your team are helping many organizations tackle this. So thank you so much, Puneet. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Alldus offer an exec search program. Alldus can help you discover how data science and AI can transform your company. With our unrivaled network of C-suite executives and senior AI professionals, we offer retained search services across the US and Europe. Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston, and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week, we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career, and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.